Welcome to Biomechanics on Our Minds. My name is Melissa Boswell.
And I'm Hannah O'Day, and we're PhD students at Stanford University.
This podcast is brought to you by the International Society of Biomechanics.
It's
time for Boom.
Welcome to Boom, where we have
Biomechanics on our minds.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
Boom, 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 boom.
Boom.
Okay, welcome to Biomechanics on Our Minds. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Hannah.
And we are so excited to be talking with the co-founders of the International Women in Biomechanics group.
Who do I hear? Student is near. Voices. Student voices. Voices.
So with us today is Jayishni Maharaj and Ebrahimi, and we are just so excited to be talking with both of you. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and it's good to see some friendly faces as we all have met before, but it's good to chat now.
Thanks for inviting us, Mel. And Hannah.
Yeah, well, maybe before we start off, so we obviously want to dive into the International Women in Biomechanics group that you both started. And this is actually, so this episode is a Student Voices series, but you're postdocs now. So, but, we decided that we're all students, so that's going to count. But maybe you can just give an introduction of who you are, I guess maybe your current position, but then also what brought you to biomechanics, as we always like to start off with what first sparked that interest in biomechanics.
Well, I'll go first. Thanks, so much for having us. I am a postdoc at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I'm working with Dr. Daryl Thielen. I'm studying muscle tendon loading in children with cerebral palsy. And how I got into biomechanics is maybe like many people, I was a competitive gymnast, and that really sparked my love for understanding how the body moves and how I could, perform different skills and make my body move in different ways. And I just found out from going to undergrad at the University of California, Davis, that there was a subfield in biomedical engineering called biomechanics that basically studies human movement and all that stuff that I loved. So I fortunately had really great mentors that encouraged me.
I didn't know you were a gymnast. Yeah. I was a gymnast too, and now I feel like we can bond over that.
Gosh, I love doing handstands, and that's the only thing I can really do still. Is handstands. And
that's exactly how I am, but you got to use that handstand skill still. Jay, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jayishni Maharaj. I'm a postdoc at Griffith University in Brisbane, Australia. I do a lot of musculoskeletal modeling to inform lots of different things. So at the moment, I'm working on a project where we're trying to create implants, which then we're creating these implants and then putting them into cadavers and testing them. So that's what I'm working at the moment. My background and my love is for muscles and tendons and for feet. So this is, I guess, where I come from. I'm a podiatrist by profession. So my undergrad was in podiatry, and I was a clinician for 2 years, and I still practiced for a very, very long time. And I guess that's where my interest for this area developed, because as podiatrist, I used to see a lot of musculoskeletal injuries and issues, and a lot of these were treated by modifying gait, whether we used foot orthoses, changing gait parameters. And I think sometimes it used to really bother me that we just didn't know enough about certain problems. And that really got to me. And so then I was just trying to look around and see how can I learn more. And I set out to do a master's, but fell into a PhD, and here I am. I don't think I'm leaving. I love research way too much now.
Do you feel like you have met kind of the expectation that you had with learning more and being able to use that maybe in like the clinical setting as you envision?
I think more and more now I'm trying to get back to like making my research more relevant, but initially it was just about understanding the basics. Like the foot is so complicated, and whilst I want to go, I want to do this, this, and this, like really you need to like focus in on a particular structure. There's like 26 bones in the foot and 32 joints. Which one do you focus on? So like whilst I would love to conquer it all, it ain't gonna happen. That realization took a while.
Be on a t-shirt.
Sorry?
But I feel like that quote should be on a t-shirt.
Wow. Thank you both. Your stories are so cool. I love this question and the answers we get because you can see people's different paths and like coming from totally different like sports versus clinical versus, just like the different personal connections you make with what you're doing are just so fun to hear about. So thank you for sharing those experiences.
How it all brings us together. Like it's totally like a connecting thing. Like that's sorry.
Yeah, no, totally. That's one of the things I love about Boom. Like you just totally feel like the connections, and we're like in all different parts of the world right now. And the initiative you have started is super international, just even by nature of where you two are, as you just stated. So almost different poles, like, but
a little bit.
Yeah. It's amazing you find like the correct times to meet and things like that, or like, adequate times to meet, I should say. But so let's talk a little bit more about that. You two meeting during this pandemic on opposite sides of the world. Like, how did this connection come about?
Well, it's kind of interesting, actually. We had a joint lab meeting between the biomechanics team at the University of Queensland, so my old lab, and Anna's lab. And we actually decided to catch up after the lab meeting to discuss science, to talk more muscle tendons. I shared a paper with Anna, and Anna's like, I'd love to chat to you a bit more about it. But when we actually caught up for the first 50 minutes of the conversation, we were just talking about life and research and grant failures. And then when I had to go to my next meeting, we were like, we forgot to talk research. Kind of like at the beginning of this. So it was like, it just came out of something super unexpected. But it was a conversation that Anna and I really wanted to have with someone. And I think that was how it all came about. Like, just sharing our own ups and downs of both research, and which was further complicated by COVID. And that's where it all started.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, this is great. We should talk to our friends and just try to see like how many are interested in talking like this and just kind of chatting about life and what it's like to be an early career scientist and a woman in this field. And so we reached out to like maybe 20 or 30 people. And then Jay had the brilliant idea to post it on Twitter, and it exploded. And that's like,
we needed to be inclusive.
It was like, and now it's maybe 4 months, and it's like we have over 420 people in our Slack channel, which is insane. Like,
wow.
I thought it was just going to be a few of us getting together, but there was clearly a lot of women in biomechanics that wanted to connect. So.
And as you guys can see on Slack, there's people like communicating and being active on it, like sharing stuff. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And at such a time, like when connection feels so far, like everything feels so far apart, like I think it's so awesome that you were able to almost take advantage of like Slack and Twitter and other ways to bring people together, and you have formed such an amazing community already. Yeah.
And I love that you were thinking beyond like yourselves too, right? Like you're like, we're having these problems, but like, are other people and how can we help other people too? And like, to me, that's like just amazing. And yeah, we're thankful. We're part of the group. And so we're really thankful for that too. Maybe you could expand a little bit more on what the group does and what, I guess, a little bit more into like the need for it. I guess even before we do that, so it's the International Womxn in biomechanics, right? So there's this, when we are spelling it, instead of an E in women, there's an X, and maybe you can also talk about the significance of that. And then a little bit more about the group.
Yeah, I'll start with the X. So it is intentional. We're not misspelling women. That way, it's a little bit easier to say. But yeah, the X is just meant to be inclusive of non-binary and trans women. So we want to make sure to be upfront about that.
And I guess the need really comes from, like, both Anna and I come from really good labs with super supportive advisors. So my advisors, Glenn Litchwak previously, and David Saxby, and Anna's supervisor, Daryl Thielen, are really supportive of us. Like, they'll encourage us to apply for grants, they'll put us on grants, they encourage us to apply for awards. But we know that not everybody has such amazing, incredible supervisors that push them, give them confidence, kind of have their back kind of thing. And so, and we noticed that. And we really wanted to try to be able to provide that sort of support and confidence for other women. And so I guess that's where the need of the International Women in Biomechanics group kind of started, was like, hey, let's kind of provide some sort of support and enhance the confidence of other women so they can get out there and do what they kind of want to do and achieve.
Yeah, we realized kind of early on too that we didn't know, like, my experience was not the only experience. Early on, like, thought about putting together a survey, and we were blown away. We got over 125 responses, and that really helped us in, like, kind of tailoring the needs of the group too. So we got some really positive responses, right? Like, a lot of our women respondents thought that they were confident that they would achieve their career goals, which is awesome. But they also showed things like they were somewhat or not very satisfied with their professional development offerings, and oftentimes they had to train themselves in really important areas like data processing and writing and technical skills. And probably the most important thing we thought from that survey was that more than 50% of the women thought that the stress and mental health challenges that they had a very high or high impact on their productivity. So, we had this, like, wide group of backgrounds, cultures, ages, etc. And I think this group is really helping us support. We can provide resources for mental health. We can try to provide professional development offerings, doing, like, monthly meetings. Next meeting, we're going to talk about grant writing, so that'll be great. So hopefully trying to address some of those needs.
Yeah. And when you talk about the stresses and the mental health challenges that women believe that are having such a high impact on their productivity, maybe you can talk a little bit about the additional pressures that women in the field might be facing.
Yeah, so the big thing that we do get a lot is, like, well, a lot of these pressures are experienced by postdocs or researchers in general. So males and females experience the instability of academia, where you're going from one contract to another contract, especially in the postdoc years. And we completely agree. There's a lot of things that happen or are experienced by both males and women. males and females. But I think women have these additional pressures that men, well, we have different pressures compared to men in the form of when to start a family, like these personal issues, like when to start a family. I know some of our members have been discriminated, whether it's been sexually abused or something like that previously as well. And so these are additional pressures that some women also experience. So it's just a group where women can come together and talk about some of these pressures that they experience, kind of thing. In the survey that Anna mentioned that we did, we found that some of the concerns that women had were women specific, in fact, and these included that they had a lack of, they lacked certain confidence, just juggling personal and family commitments. Finding safety was really important for them, dealing with unfairness previously in their workplace. So these are issues, and these issues are different to the issues that males face. And so reaching out to other women and talking about these issues can also be very comforting and nice for women, especially to provide each other with some support, kind of thing.
Yeah, especially. Oh, go ahead, Hannah.
I was just going to say, I love that you really centered the group, as Melissa was saying, around supporting and finding the needs that are important and the topics that people want to talk about and aren't being talked about, or there aren't spaces, adequate to talk about these things in. And that gets right back to what you were talking about with the name of the group, right? Like it all starts there too, like that it's inclusive in itself. So,
yeah. And you mentioned,
I think that was really important.
That you said your advisors are so supportive, and like how important that is. But even then, it can only be supportive to an extent. I kind of feel like there these issues with like harassment and some other things that are really sensitive. Like you can have a very supportive advisor, but it's still, I feel like, a bit of a barrier if they aren't maybe the same gender as you, to like let you feel comfortable really talking about some of those challenges.
Yeah, it's really important to have some level of peer support, definitely there. Someone that you can, like a friend who kind of understands, who's in your area, and that you can kind of reach out to. Whether it's just for them just to listen, because sometimes you just need someone to listen to you, that you don't really need someone to tell you exactly what to do or what steps to take. You just need someone to like vent to or listen to. And I feel like going outside of academia to like and like we all have friends outside of work, but like they might not understand as much as someone who is in the field, definitely. Yeah. And sometimes supervisors can't do that.
definitely. I know that I have some friends that we just preface a message like wall of text coming, and then it's just like, you just kind of let it all out. So it's really cool to have that kind of space and forum, just really accessible to a lot of different people.
I don't think we're 100% there yet, because everybody's still trying to get to know each other on the forum, but we've definitely got avenues and ideas there that will promote more of that, definitely.
Yeah, and I bet there are lots of, like, it's nice in Slack, you can have like private messages too, so you can have, you might be connecting lots of people that are having these private conversations on the side that wouldn't have otherwise been able to if you hadn't connected them.
Yeah, we hope so. That would be great.
You need a follow-up survey.
Oh yeah, our surveys will be followed up. Like, so to demonstrate some of the impact the group can make, we're going to be doing them every six months to a year to see if the group is actually having an impact and is changing things for the better. Definitely. That was the goal of doing this survey. It was a lot of work. So that was the big picture idea behind it.
That's awesome. You guys, you've really thought about lots of different aspects of this and how to have impact. I'm wondering, were there any challenges, or have you had any challenges in setting up the group?
Yeah, I guess we have had overwhelmingly positive support across the board. But I think one challenge that's come up several times actually is just having to sometimes justify the group's purpose. Like, a lot of people will ask why this group is necessary in 2020, and why is it just for women? Why aren't men included? Which are obviously valid questions, but it just takes some time to explain, one, why is there a problem? And then two, why is creating this safe space so important? And so I'll give some data because I love sharing the data. But in regards
to we love data sharing.
I've thought about this so much, and I'm like, this is obviously a passion of mine. So I'm trying to support all of my thoughts with data. So yeah, and in regards to the problem, I was looking this up, and around the world, not just the United States, Australia, India, everywhere, only 20% of people who graduate with an engineering degree are women. And it changes a little bit, but that's kind of on average. And that percentage has pretty much been the same for fields like mechanical engineering across several decades. So it's not like we're improving, we're getting more women. So it's really shocking. And obviously there's a clear underrepresentation of women in the field. And then in regards to why creating a space just for women is so important, there's a lot of psychology research that backs that. There's studies that show being in isolated spaces or spaces where there's no one else that looks like you can actually add to your cognitive load. It can affect your self-confidence. And there's a really nice paper by Dale Shunk that shows the link between self-efficacy and academic motivation. So when women or any underrepresented group has this increased cognitive load in the classroom and is lacking this belief that they belong or that they can be proficient in the field, then they're not likely to stay in the field, and that just kind of supports this leaky pipeline that we have. And I don't know, self-efficacy, a common phrase? Otherwise, have you guys heard of it before, or
I use that some in my research with learning about adherence to exercise and physical activity levels, whether it's the self-efficacy, whether people believe that they can move and be active. But I'm interested in hearing it in this application.
Yeah, how do you quantify something like that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think of it more as just kind of the definition of self-efficacy, like Melissa was saying, is believing you have the ability to do something, and that's I think it was coined by Albert Bandura in the 70s. It's been around for a while, but I've just kind of started to catch on. But basically, there's a few different areas where you can build that belief system. And it's one is social persuasion, having other people tell you you can do it, kind of encouraging you. Another is vicarious experiences. So seeing role models or other people that look like you do the task. And then another is actually just doing it yourself. And so all these ways are kind of supported in our group because we are, we're encouraging each other. We are showing each other, different career paths and showing that there are different ways that you can pursue biomechanics. And certainly everyone's trying to encourage each other to do the actual biomechanics. We're asking each other technical questions in Slack, and it's really awesome. So there's all these ways that we can build a community and empower women to build their own self-efficacy and go on to do really amazing things in biomechanics. And that will just help us retain more women in biomechanics if they are feeling like they have the ability to do so.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes me think of, so when we measure self-efficacy in the exercise setting, there's a survey for it. And then like one of the questions is like, if it's raining, do you still believe that you can go out and exercise? And so like, I'm thinking like kind of metaphorically, like if it's like raining, like, do you still believe that you can do this? You know? Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My computer just died and I don't know how. So my screen might be gone. Anyways, so I was thinking like metaphorically, if it's raining, do you still believe that you can, you know, accomplish these things? And I think that's kind of the beauty of the group, is that it's ongoing. So, so you always have people there that can help you face these kind of continual barriers.
Yeah, when it's metaphorically raining in your head or wherever, like, going down. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. And you can reach out to people that have had similar issues or challenges. And like if you, like a lot of people have put up some questions and we get replies going, yeah, I had a similar issue come up. I did this, this, and this. Like, so it's kind of like you don't have to come up with solutions yourself. There's people who have gone through that. They can give you some solutions, and it doesn't seem such a big disaster to start off with. You have some solutions, and then you can adapt them to yourself, kind of thing.
Boom would like to thank Sanford Health for their support in the making of the Student Voices series. Sanford Health is one of the nation's largest health systems, offering integrated care, genomic medicine, senior care and services, research, and affordable insurance. Sanford Health also offers students both clinical and non-clinical internship experiences throughout the year, as well as graduate student training through a partnership with the University of South Dakota Department of Biomedical Engineering.
These student opportunities include biomechanics internships through the Sanford Sports Science Institute and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Fargo, North Dakota, and provide mentorship, professional development, and growth opportunities, including gaining real-world experience and building useful skills to prepare you for the future. And if you want to learn more about student opportunities at Sanford Health, you can visit sanfordhealth.jobs.
That's SANFORD health.jobs.
How is like maintaining this space? Is that have you found it's a lot of work, or it feels natural, or how's that been for you?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the tough things, right? We're researchers, so our main job is as postdocs. This is a side gig. So it happens late nights, on the weekends. So juggling it all has been one of the tough things, but we're really lucky. We have a team now helping us out. So we've got people from around the world. So we made sure we got a team that was both at different levels, so all the way from PhD to senior lecturers, as well as from different countries. So we have Kat Daniels, Kirsty McDonald, Caitlin Banks, Sarah Kessler, and Yana Montgomery helping us out. So when we make decisions now, like initially it was Anna and I just like trying to solve all these issues, and we found quickly that it couldn't be just us doing it. It was just way too much. But now all our decisions are made amongst the team, and it's really good. It's really, really cool because everybody has their own experiences and their own perspectives to it. And yeah, we come up with great, like we start off with a small idea, and what it transforms into is something pretty amazing by the end of it. So we have a team now. Thank God.
It's also awesome because like people have like really taken on what they're passionate about. Like Sarah Kessler loves social media, so she's like taken on Twitter and she's taken on Instagram, and Jana just did like an Instagram takeover where she explained her research over the course of the week. She did an AMA, which is like an Ask Me Anything. So yeah, check out our Instagram too. It's been great.
We also get the members really involved. Like our logo was created by one of the members. So we try to, as much as possible, we try to engage the members, like to help us solve issues or question, like if we have a question, we'll just take it to the members, and that's the best way to find a solution in our minds. Is it's for the members, so if they help us answer the questions that we have, it's going to be more appealing to them, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Go ahead, Anna.
I was
just that hand. I started.
Well, I was just to add on to that, because it's kind of exciting. Our next we have monthly meetings, and our next meeting is basically all member led. So Katie Noss and Alexa Johnson are leading the grant workshop, and we're having different members talk about different areas of the grant cycles and different things. So we have like breakout rooms to talk about U.S. grants and applying to grants in Australia and applying to grants, internationally and so on. So yeah, it's exciting to see what members are interested in and having them pursue the networking opportunities and stuff.
That's amazing. And if there's any way that we can, then help spread any of the talks or any of their messages, just let us know, because we would love to be able to help in that way. And Anna, you talked a bit about some of the, when we were talking about self-efficacy, you talked about some of the different types of support that is provided by the group. And so I was just wondering maybe the big picture or what the mission is of the group, what you've done so far in terms of that, and then where you see it going. I guess that's a lot of questions, but.
Yeah, no, I can certainly talk a little bit about our big picture, and I'll start again with the sort of the motivation. And I think I mentioned this a little bit, but the leaking pipeline of women in STEM and women in engineering, it's basically that we have this pretty much equal ratio of men and women in K-12 education, but then there's all these places where women really leak out of the pipeline. So from undergraduate to grad school and in industry, women aren't staying in the STEM fields and engineering faculty and other STEM faculty. So I'll paraphrase. I love this. My mentor, Dr. Jenny Buckley, says this all the time. She's a huge champion for women in engineering, but she says that we have this really talented, well-educated pool of women coming out of K-12 education. But if we don't get them into engineering and keep them there, we're just missing this enormous wealth of ideas and abilities from really talented individuals. So it kind of goes beyond just saying, yeah, we need diversity and we need like equal opportunities for everybody because it's the right thing to do, but also it's just going to give us a better product. And there's this great book, Scott Page, called The Difference. I don't know if you've heard of it, but that also talks about how beneficial diversity is to groups and how it just leads to more productive group members and everything. So anyway, that's a long way of saying our big picture is kind of addressing this pipeline from two ends. One is to increase visibility of women in biomechanics to the younger generation and help kind of recruit them into the STEM fields and especially biomechanics. And the second is to foster a community that empowers women to stay in the field and continue throughout their careers, just feel like they can build that self-efficacy again to stay and retention, basically, in biomechanics. So that's kind of our big picture. Yeah.
And I guess then the way we try to achieve that is through a few different mechanisms. So the two things that we're currently doing is the monthly meetings that we've spoken about and the Slack platform. So in the monthly meetings, we'll have keynotes followed by like breakout sessions where people can just chat and network with each other. And these networking sessions are generally based on a particular topic or an area. And we also have our Slack channel. The Slack channel is a really good place for resources. People are always putting up resources, things that they find beneficial, journal articles that they've read that is really cool, questions, just random questions. We also have just general chitty chatter, like we have a pets channel. Where we've seen some of your pets. Yes. So those are some of the initiatives that we've currently taken. Other initiatives that we're really looking at trying to push over the next 6 months to 12 months is like creating a peer mentoring group where we create groups based on a particular area. So we might have 4 to 5 women in a similar level or a similar area of biomechanics that can catch up and chat about issues that they're having. And so what we're finding is, whilst it's difficult to understand which people to directly reach out to at the moment, that might help some of the women network a little bit easier. So we're constantly talking to members. We're constantly coming up with our solutions to problems that we get given, and then we'll trial them out and see them if they work or not. It's like testing a hypothesis and seeing if it works or not. And if it doesn't, we'll change it and try again. And I think that's the cool beauty about it. Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about it. We're seeing what works and what doesn't work and measuring it, and then going from there. We like it.
It's awesome.
So I guess I'm wondering too, so you talked about the social media and the Slack channels, so it would be great if you want to share those, if people want to join, like what would be the first step in joining the group. But then I was also hoping, like, the group is very welcoming, and I feel like that energy just kind of like radiates through all of the media channels, which is amazing. But I'm sure that it still is like sometimes hard to just kind of cold reach out to people that you don't know. So I'm also wondering, for someone who, let's say, like joins a Slack channel and they want to reach out or they want to ask a question, like, what would you tell them? Like, what advice would you give them?
I would be like, post it up there, because someone else has probably the same question and is probably feeling just as scared and just as nervous. So like, there's like the amount of times that I've gone, oh man, I wonder what the answer to this is. And then I just wouldn't do it. And then I just do it. And there's like other people going, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, thanks for posting that up. So like, we're all thinking it, right? Like, we're all thinking it, but just no one asks it. And so that's something that we're really trying to promote, like, just ask. And it's a really safe environment.
Yeah, I would also say that everyone is welcome to, we have like an email, and we have just obviously you can reach out to Jay or I or any of like the exec council members, our team, if it's too much to post on the big channel. Yeah, reading through, we have a channel that's just new, I think new Say Hello. And it's basically just kind of an introduction to yourself. What do you do? What are your hobbies? And reading through that is so inspiring. And like Dave was saying, you can just like, so many of us share similar stories of why we got into biomechanics and what we're passionate about. And we have similar hobbies like crafting and different things. So it's really fun. I'd recommend reading that too to anyone who wants to join. Make a new friend.
It's a great channel ideas. And I love how what you were saying about you really doing like the design thinking process of trying to empathize with your audiences, figure out what the real needs are, prototype different solutions, brainstorm and prototype different solutions, and then you get feedback and you iterate and you're changing and you're constantly evolving and making this really what it needs to be for the people who it's serving. And I think that's just such an awesome cycle and so cool to like kind of see it evolving. And I'm just wondering, like with these different channels and things, like if you have any, we love to talk about fails here, and like it'd be, I think we just started a fail channel on our Slack, so I was sort of thinking it, and Melissa started a celebrate channel on our lab Slack too as well. So wondering if you like if there was a fail channel, if you have anything to contribute there either.
I can share a fail that actually was one of the things that Jay and I first bonded over was, it's like a personal fail. It's not necessarily related to the group, but like, I've been in my postdoc I'm going on 3 years, and I've applied for several grants, and I haven't gotten any grants so far. And that's been disheartening, especially because this is fortunately my first time really experiencing that. My papers have never been flat out rejected yet.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, which is,
She's lucky, right?
fortunate, yeah. And then I applied for this NSF graduate research fellowship, and I got it on the resubmission. Like I didn't get it the first time, but I got it on the resubmission. So I never had to like deal with so much rejection all in like a span of a couple of years. And so that was like, so disheartening. And I think it just also coming from, I don't know, maybe Melissa can speak to this too, but coming from gymnastics and also academia, it's like this environment where you're just constantly judged by others. Your like performance constantly judged by others. And I really recognized that I was tying so much of my self-worth to my work and my productivity. And I'm working really hard to like try to disconnect those things, but sharing those sort of failures with the grant writing and just kind of being disheartened actually is what Jay and I first bonded over. And then we kind of thought, other women probably have similar, feelings, so we should talk to them. And so it blossomed into this beautiful thing that I totally unexpected. So anyway, I have to look at the bright side of why I didn't get those grants. Maybe it was for this, I don't know.
Well, what I'm hearing from that is just start failing as soon as possible to just get it out of the way and learn how to move on.
Yeah. So I think that was, I was reading the book from the founder of Nike, and he said that too. He was like, fail quickly so that you can move on to the next.
Two dogs. Yeah. I almost am like concerned with like maybe I shouldn't share this, but like I have a paper that I've drafted and I'm getting ready to submit somewhere and like going back and forth with what journal, and I'm just like, well, why don't we just submit it? And like if they don't accept it, then like is that like ground upon like whatever, we'll just send it somewhere else. We'll just make it better and send it somewhere else. And I'm starting to like maybe worry that I'm not worried enough, but I feel like you have to find that balance, right?
Yeah, so we've been pretty lucky with the group. Most of our ideas have been well taken up. Like everybody, I have my own like research fails. But as for the group, we're doing okay at the moment. Like we've had a few things where we've tried to create Slack channels and they've just gone completely wrong. I think for the moment it's okay.
It definitely helps to have such a great team. I'm like so excited that we have so many amazing women in the group and just like everyone's helping each other out. So
I think that's just, that they just have, that you definitely found a need and that you've now created a platform where people have already wanted to help and support in these ways. And like, not only is it a platform for people to seek support, but I think also to give support. And I think in some ways that is also so fulfilling. And like, I always feel better when I can like offer support and help to other people. So I feel like it's in both ways, it's beneficial. So I also was wondering, what was that?
I said you feel needed, like yeah, it's a nice feeling. And I think that's the whole thing about like also offering help and getting help from members. And we really try to promote that, especially during COVID, where it really helps with the person's mental health as well, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. So as a final question, before we share, I guess, more information on how to get involved in the group, we are wondering what you are most excited for for the future of biomechanics, or maybe for the future of the International Womxn in Biomechanics group. What are you looking forward to? And maybe even like if you could jump forward, 5-10 years, what would be the most exciting for you to see?
Anna, do you want to go first? Because I definitely have my big exciting ideas for the group.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, you should go first with your big ideas for the group.
I think it all goes back to why we set out to do this in the first place. It's really to for that leaky pipeline, but also to keep more women in biomechanics for longer. And even if we can keep a couple more women doing biomechanics, and that's not just in academia, that's in your industry fields as well. I think that would be really a really nice big picture goal for us. But in the meantime, also keeping helping our the group members feel more supported, having someone to turn to. Those are definitely our big picture things. In 5 to 10 years, I would love for, this might be a bit blue sky, but I'm just going to be putting it out there, so don't judge me on it, okay? So it'd be really cool if we could have grants and things that women can apply for specifically through the group, whether it just be small travel grants to get certain women with their families or something out to conferences. I know there's already some out there, some programs like that out there, but I think if we can get funding, if the group can get funding we can then pass on, that would be really, really cool. If we can get to that level, I'll be like, yes, because I think that's that's a gap that currently needs to be further explored and looked into, I think. To me, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Jay and I compliment each other so much. We were talking about this because she is really focusing, her passion is on retention and keeping women in STEM and all that stuff. And I'm really interested in the early stage, the K-12, bringing women in. So yeah, my interests, I think, are probably there for the group. I'd love to see us develop outreach programs. We're really inspired by Dr. Paul DeVita's work with National Biomechanics Day, and there's a group that I'm really involved with called the Perry Initiative that does hands-on, hands-on modules and outreach activities for high school aged women to introduce them to engineering and orthopedic surgery. And so I'd love to see us kind of develop that outreach program, and also through all of our social, we are just increasing the visibility of women in biomechanics. So hopefully that will also help the next generation. And I think probably the coolest thing for me might be having somebody that saw our group in junior high school, join our group later as kind of tracking these women across the career stages and just seeing oh, they heard about our group in 2020 and now they are going off to do amazing things in the field in 2030 or whatever. So that would be so freaking cool. And I'm sure it will happen because there's brilliant women out there. They're going to change our world. So.
Wow. I can just feel the passion and energy in this group, and it's just radiating everywhere. And I feel I can just see the if there's a graph, it extrapolating and just shooting up into the future, exponential growth. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm seeing. And that's what I'm excited about as well. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and just for coming and sharing all of those experiences and all of these awesome, initiatives with everyone.
Thank you so much for having us. This is
all we say is just support the group. So females, join the group if you want to. Join the group. It's a great platform if you haven't already joined the group. And males, keep supporting us because we're a team in biomechanics. We've got you. You guys still have to support us, and we'll support you. It's not one or the other. So support us by liking our stuff or getting your students to join, or there's lots of ways to do it.
I love that. Do you have your, can you share your Twitter handle or your Slack channel or whatever it is that would be like the first, like that people can join and follow?
Yeah, our Twitter is INTWOMXN DIOMECH. So int women Womxn Biomech. So once they found us, we have our link to our website, and the website has a special page for becoming a member. So that's like really easy. You just put out your name and email, and we will invite you to the Slack channel. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And we'll include the website and the Twitter handle in the description of the episode, so it'll be easy for people to find.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let us know how we can keep supporting you, and like through Boom, but also personally. I loved your ideas of getting other people involved, and if we're always happy to support you and support each other. So thank you for giving us that opportunity to do that.
Thanks for having us. It's been fun.
It has been.
Yeah. Thank you, really. And just to have like a fun conversation, like you said, like the beginning of this conversation didn't even feel like we were here to do a podcast episode. Like just felt like we were all getting on to have some fun and have a good conversation. And that's what it feels like ending it too. So thank you.
Yeah. It's good to see you guys too, Faye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you at a conference in person.
Sweden.
Sometime in the near future. Well, take care and keep us updated.
Thanks for listening to Student Voices, a series by Biomechanics on Our Minds, by students and for students. If you have an idea for an episode of Student Voices, or if you want to host your own episode, please reach out to us at biomechanicsonOurMinds@gmail.com or tweet at us at biomechanicsOOM.
We'd love to hear from you. Let's keep these conversations going.